Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we are remembering the worst moments of the series by looking at the 10 most disturbing things in Metal Gear Solid games. Whether our skin was crawling or our minds were boggling, these moments left us speechless. Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos. Otacon and Emma. People often forget or don't even quite remember just how disturbing the dynamic between Otacon and Emma is, or how messed up the events surrounding their childhood were. But if you listen to all the codec calls, you'll learn more than you wanted to. Let's skip over Hal, Emmerich, or Otacon's youngest years in Afghanistan and fast forward straight to his teenage years, where he was living with his father, Huey Emmerich, his stepmother, Julie, and stepsister, Emma. Emma and Hal would often play house together, and although it's vague, we assume Emma gained a little bit of a romantic affection for her stepbrother. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't even know anymore, Hal was engaged in an affair with his stepmom, and yes, he was a teenager. When Hal's dad, Huey, found out, he committed suicide by drowning himself in their pool, attempting to drown Emma as well. Emma did manage to survive, but felt resentment towards Hal, who said he'd always be there for her, and when she needed him most, wasn't. Where was he? Oh, don't worry, he was just f***ing his stepmom. Otacon, mate, come on. Snake's shock therapy.
Here's where the fun really begins.
Every single Metal Gear Solid game up until this point featured a torture scene. The first game saw a shirtless Solid Snake being electrocuted by a machine. The second game saw a naked Raiden being electrocuted on an almost identical contraption. The third game saw Naked Snake being beaten, electrocuted, shot, threatened, stabbed, and shot again. The first two games were fairly light. The third was something out of Reservoir Dogs. All previous entries tried to maintain a level of dignity or strength around their protagonist's torture, but from Volgin beating Naked Snake and capturing him, right up to Snake literally peeing his pants, they were clearly taking a different approach.
I've prepared an escape route for us. Go out and head west.
AI Colonel.
Raiden, are you receiving? We're still here.
How's that possible? The AI was destroyed!
Only GW.
Every Metal Gear enthusiast holds a long-lasting recollection of the moment when Colonel instructed Raiden to power down the console in Metal Gear Solid 2. Throughout the game, Raiden's doubts about his mission's true purpose intensify as the Colonel's persona starts to unravel. As the game approaches its conclusion, Raiden loses his equipment and seeks guidance from the Colonel to determine his next course of action. Nevertheless, it is subsequently unveiled that the Colonel is merely an artificial intelligence manipulated by the Patriots to control Raiden. The AI malfunctions, causing some out-of-place dialogue that is unnerving and fourth wall breaking.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry, it's a game. It's a game just like usual.
You'll ruin your eyes playing so close to the TV.
He gossips about Raiden's girlfriend Rose, he references previous Metal Gear Solid games, and says the incredibly confusing gibberish line that has plagued our minds for more than 20 years.
I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw space with the tuning fork does a raw blink on Harry Carey rock. I need scissors. 61.
Cyborg Ninja.
But I'm just getting warmed up. What? My hand!
The Cyborg Ninja, otherwise known as Grey Fox, otherwise known as Frank Yeager, is an entry disturbing all on his own. If we talked about his beginnings as a child soldier, his ruthless ability to murder the enemy in really disturbing ways, and his capture and near death in the events of Metal Gear, we'd be here all day. So let's skip to Metal Gear Solid, where we meet the Cyborg Ninja, a disturbing experiment in cybernetic surgery that grafted a cyborg exoskeleton to the landmine-damaged remains of Grey Fox. We see the disturbing and brutal pain Grey Fox can exert on his enemies in the hallway leading up to him and Otacon. We listen to the brutal, war-torn mind converse with us during our only playable fight with him. We see the depths of his PTSD and later, his brutal death. Everything that surrounds Grey Fox is beyond disturbing, and we hope he's resting peacefully.
In the Middle East,
revisiting Shadow Moses.
Snake, are you all right?
Returning to Shadow Moses in Guns of the Patriots doesn't invoke the same nostalgia as you might expect. The Genome Army has long vanished, leaving behind nothing but a frigid, barren expanse and automated guards concealed beneath the snow, ready to pounce at any moment. Traversing this now desolate landscape is not only spine-tingling, but confronting Crying Wolf also stands out as one of the most heart-pounding battles in the entire series. We should be excited to be back in our original stomping grounds, but we can't help but feel, sorry to say it for the 100th time, disturbed. Laughing Octopus. The Beauty and the Beast unit from Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots are all incredibly upsetting to be around. These 4 female soldiers, all suffering from PTSD, are fitted with special suits that enhance their abilities and make fighting them an absolute nightmare. The cherry on the cake is how after each one dies, we learn about their harrowing backstory, making us feel morally reprehensible for putting them in the ground. One of these ladies stands out more than the rest, and that beauty is Laughing Octopus. The encounter with Laughing Octopus in Guns of the Patriots ranks among the most terrifying moments in the entire series. Even though the battle takes place in a well-lit area, the sudden appearance of this tentacled nightmare from unexpected hiding spots, combined with its ruthless taunting and maniacal laughter as it slithers around, creates an utterly spine-chilling boss fight. Also, she's the first, and we weren't really prepared.
Will of the battlefield.
Microwave Hall. Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was easily the hardest journey for our main man Solid Snake. Watching him deteriorate from rapid aging whilst suffering an above average amount of injuries that take him from the handsome James Bond-esque hero we remember from the first game to this walking corpse was rough. But no moment of physical torture is more brutal in this game than the infamous microwave corridor sequence. Within the immense warship known as Outer Haven, a corridor is lined with retractable microwave emitters on both sides, serving as a deterrent for unauthorized personnel attempting to access the precious GWAI server room. The walls emit a specific type of microwave radiation which heats up the water molecules within the body, effectively causing them to burn or boil from the inside. Despite Raiden's generous offer to take Snake's place since the microwaves would have less impact on his cyborg body, Snake, exemplifying the hero he is, refused and ventured in himself, forcing players to continually urge Snake to progress as his leisurely walk transforms into an excruciating crawl, was disturbing for fans who'd loved Solid Snake since the 90s. Stop Meryl.
I'm Psycho Mantis!
As you play through Metal Gear Solid for the first time, you think of it as an action-adventure shooter with a rich, full story, but you definitely don't expect it to become a horror game at any point. We know Kojima has horror chops, so it's not surprising that almost every iteration and entry for Metal Gear Solid features a moment that feels like it was ripped straight out of a Silent Hill game. In MGS1, that was the Psycho Mantis fight. Leading up to the fight, Meryl becomes possessed by Psycho Mantis, causing her voice and vibe to instantly change. Referring to Snake suddenly as Mr. Foxhound was not unlike the AI kernel malfunction from MGS2, and it sent shivers up the players' spines.
Okay, let's go. Come on, Mr. Foxhound. The commander is waiting.
From Psycho Mantis reading our memory cards and making the controller move, to him attempting to make Meryl unalive herself, the whole experience was blood-curdling and terrifying. I don't think we'll get his voice out of our heads anytime soon.
Meryl, stand right where he can see you and blow your brains out. Ah!
Stop! Meryl!
The Outbreak.
Boss! Hey! Die by your order, boss. Boss.
During the events of MGS5, the player learns about a vocal parasite that triggers when the infected person speaks English, and the triggered reaction is not pretty. The game introduced us to the devastation with an outbreak on Mother Base. Thankfully, the first outbreak was handled and taken care of, causing the player to let their guard down. Nobody ever expects a second outbreak. The second outbreak has us play out one of the most disturbing sections in an MGS game to date, with the infected being abandoned in the quarantine area to suffer and wonder about their fate. With no other options left, the player, as Snake, has to enter the quarantine zone and euthanize their comrades one by one, gunning them down while they are sick and begging. Somehow I think it would have been easier if they fought back. That has to be better than their begging, anger towards being betrayed, and the even more disturbing thank yous that particularly sick friends would whisper. Paz Goes Boom.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Paz and Chico were introduced in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and each of them had their failings. Paz in particular was a child of war who ended up betraying everyone whilst battling with her own demons. But her behavior in Peace Walker did not prepare us for what would happen to her in the following chronological entry. It did not equal the repercussions she received in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. After being captured by Skullface, the two were the victims of unbelievably heinous torture methods, which included consistent beatings and Chico had bolts secured through his Achilles tendon to stop him from walking. He was forced into group beatings with Paz, where they would strip her and abuse her in front of him, and he was also forced to have sex with Paz. All this being said, we're still only scratching the surface of the abuse these kids suffered. After everything they went through, we expected an ending for them that would make all of this make sense, but instead, after the player rescues them and removes a bomb from Paz with no anesthetic, she wakes up to reveal there is a second bomb in her womb. And this is the end of her story, attempting to jump from the helicopter to save everyone from the explosion, and even that doesn't work. Paz and Chico really didn't deserve any of this. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.